Vicky, bienvenue, welcome one and all to another live stream with my dear friend Vicky Poole from Tender Response. Apologies, there was a terrible situation where she couldn't find her lippy, but we're back on once again, and here we are. Today we're talking about carbon reduction plans. Vicky, take it away.
Hugely important topic, not only for two reasons, well, for a lot of reasons, but the first two is that the world is in complete crisis and the government has said that we in the UK, we have to be carbon completely neutral by 2050 and everyone has to have plans by 2030. But that, even in public sector sales, you have to now produce a carbon reduction plan. So historically, you just have to have a plan. Now it needs to be advertised on your website and you have to report on it annually. So the reason why it's super important is, one, you need to know what you're obligated to do. And then the second thing is you need to make sure that you're covered so that you can report on it. Because if you're making statements and you can't prove them, oh boy, that's another level of pain. So that's what we're talking about today. Carbon reduction plans. Isn't it exciting?
Well, it's only exciting in as much as I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, everybody needs to take notice of this if you are wanting to be taken seriously, because pretty much every tender these days has some element to do with carbon reduction in it. Is that right?
It's not just a case of being, well, you are right. It's not just a case of being taken seriously. It's about being deemed as non-compliant.
Oh, God, right. Okay. Bit more serious than that.
Yeah. So not only is it available or not only is that statement on the majority of tenders where they say you have to have one, include it in your response or signpost to the website where it's present on your website, but it's also now included on government frameworks.
Right.
So every 3 to 7 years, depending on the framework, there is a Crown Commercial Services framework. Most people know G-Cloud. G-Cloud is a Crown Commercial Services framework. It's just another name for a framework. And a lot of them are RM and then 4 digits. So cybersecurity was one that I did the other day for somebody. Cyber Services 3. And in there, you have to have a carbon reduction plan. It has to be live on your website and you have to upload a PDF copy as part of your response. It is present now on every single tender. So it's not just for public sector. This is where people are getting a bit lost and confused. Public sector has been encouraged to produce a carbon reduction plan for the last 5 years. Sustainable-minded companies have been doing it for the last 7 years, some even for the last 10 years. Now it's mandated, and between now and 2030, if you are supplying services to public sector, you will be forced to have one, notice the language, by 2030. So if you have a contract that's worth £5 million now or above, you have to have one. It's mandated, and you have to report on it. If your contract is somewhere between 1 and 5 million, at some point over the next 3 years, you will be forced to have one. And if you're one of these lovely people who deliver small services like a handyman, so my local parish has a handyman who goes around and does odd jobs. The contract's about 28 grand a year. I looked it up the other week just to be nosy. At some point, those will also be asked to have a carbon reduction plan. Now, it's obviously going to be hitting the bigger contracts first, and then it's going to whittle down. The question that I always find interesting, though, is what happens in 2030? In 2030, it then becomes expected that all companies in the UK will have a carbon reduction plan, and they'll also be reporting on their carbon annually.
Right. So that, I mean, and if you don't stick with that, if you don't keep up with that, is it onerous?
It can be. But like all things here at Tender Response, not only do we help you write a tender response to your tender response, we also help you find answers. So I've been beavering away on this particular issue for the last 12 months. And I found 2 amazing partners who make it very, very simple for people to monitor their carbon accounting. So it can be plugged into your HR and your expenses systems to make it really easy. It's a little bit of admin, and then at the end of the year, you press a button and you get a report. And if you don't want to do that yourself and like do all the uploads yourself, it's a little bit of PS, and then they do it for you. It's brilliant. For more information on that, I'm actually hosting a webinar on this on the 22nd of May. Free to register. I'm sure Gareth's going to pop up the link or the QR code.
I certainly am. Well, let's do the link first of all.
Link.
Here's a link that you. There we go.
Scrolling along the bottom of your screen is tinyurl.com/carbon impact report. It's a little bit of blurb about carbon accounting and carbon reporting and what this event is going to help you to understand and what your obligations are. It's talking about regulatory affairs, and it's aimed at public sector. Anybody's welcome to attend, even if you're just looking for some more information. Now, if you haven't got a carbon reduction plan already, there is one available on my website. Who knew? Who knew? So if you go to tenderresponse.co.uk/resources, carbon reduction plan, it is there. It's free to download. You just need to pop in an email because we need to know where to send the document to. And no salespeople will be calling. So now you've got your plan. And if you've registered for the event, we're going to show you how to use that plan and how to report on it effectively.
Now you can see in the corner.
No salespeople will call.
Can you see at the top there? There's now a QR code. If you click on that, if you scan that QR code, that's an easy way in which you can get yourself through.
I'm going to take a moment here because I haven't done this live before. I'm just going to very quickly take a scan myself to see if it works. I'm sure it will. I trust Gareth implicitly.
No, well, of course.
You've got to get quite close to the screen. Oh, there we go. Yes, it works.
I know. Do you hear that? The disbelief in her voice. By the way, here I'm going to change it across the bottom. Here's that resources link. And of course, there's a WhatsApp number. So you can actually get, if you want people to actually ask questions, this is a question line, if you like. But use it to scope out what you want to do next. I'll take it off, put it off towards the end. So carbon reduction, it's not just a fashion thing, is it now? It's
not. It's not. And people think, oh, carbon reduction, they're going to make me stop driving my car. And it's not. It's not just that. It's about being sensible with where your infrastructure is hosted. It's looking at where you get your power supplies from. It's looking at to say how much paper you use. How much do you print out?
Right.
How many notepads do you have? And what kind of things do you give away at your events?
Right. So,
and I say that not only just because I've been to an event and picked up all my notepads for the next year.
All right. Well, I mean, you people that do those face-to-face events, of course. This event, what will it do for people? I mean, it's not just an awareness piece, is it? It's actually going to give you like things that you can solidly do to help yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the event that's on the 22nd of May, it's from two industry experts. So we've got Scoot coming, the amazing Greg, and then we've got from newly rebranded from CBN Expert, now called Notch, we've got James coming. So depending on the nature of your business, you'll be asked to provide certificates of compliance and sustainability. And this is where Scoot really come in, because they can demonstrate that your business and that project that you have been working on with the council is carbon zero, sustainable, carbon negative by the types of the report and the certificate that you've got. For your carbon accounting and in issuing out your standard reports, yes, Scoot do have an offering for this. Also, Notch, formerly CBN Expert, that's called. Yeah. I did know what CBN Expert stands for, but it's just gone out of my head now. I'm gonna have Tourette's later, and I'm just gonna shout it out randomly when I'm speaking to somebody. Notch has an offering where it's completely software, so you can go in and upload all your reports, and then everything is pretty much turnkey. And the speed of the reporting and how that works, I think, is really, really useful and valuable to businesses. So much so that some of these offerings may or may not be present in the green response product, which we'll be launching later this year from Tender Response, because like we said earlier, Tender Response not only writes a tender response to tender response, but also helps and supports with other aspects of your bids as well. And we are supporting clients moving into that supportive role of maintaining their compliance with their won tenders. And one of those things is carbon reduction and carbon reduction reporting, carbon accounting. And that's what we've been taught to go off and have a look at. And that's what we've done. And of course, we believe in sharing good advice.
Of course we do.
That's what we're doing with our event.
So who's it targeted at?
The people who will get the best out of the carbon reduction event carbon reporting event on the 22nd of May will be SMEs and business owners who, as well as salespeople, because they need to know salespeople and compliance people within your organization, so that they can understand what they have to provide, what's nice to provide, and if they're not providing, they really should be. You're going to break it down and make it really simple to digest.
Well, I think breaking it down is the only way of getting it so that people will take any notice of it. If it's too complex, often people's ability to take this in drastically reduces. How long does the event last for?
So the session is for an hour. It's a lunch and learn. It's 12:30 to 1:30. And the session will be split into 15, 20-minute slots. So you're going to have a little bit of preamble from me, then you're going to have a speaker, and then a second speaker with Q&A at the end. Any questions that are left outstanding will be shared via email, and a copy of the recording will be available for 30 days after the event, in case anybody couldn't attend live, or they want to have a second replay because they found our content so riveting that they needed to share it with members of their business.
Well, of course, and so they should. All right. Well, look, I think I'm going to wind this up. But before we go, let's have a quick recap, please.
Your carbon reduction plan is something that all businesses that are tendering in the public sector need to have. And it's not just nice to have, it's a need to have. Failure to have one actually runs the risk of marking your bid as non-compliant. Once you have a carbon reduction plan in place, so you do your first one, you tick a few boxes, you've got your carbon reduction plan. From there, you need to move into your carbon reporting. You need to understand what you need to report on every year and how you can demonstrate those values within further iterations of your carbon reduction plan so that you can achieve the results and goals outlined within your carbon reduction plan. Further information is available on my website, tenderresponse.co.uk/resources. And of course, we've got the QR code up here in the top right-hand corner, which is for the Tender Response event on the 22nd of May. It's a free to register, where it's all about carbon reporting and what you regulatory need to provide, what's nice to provide, and what you really should be providing as well.
And just to finish us off, and completely randomly, I've written you a carbon reduction haiku. Would you like to hear it?
Have you done all of that while I was rabbiting on? Yes, please, Gareth. I love your haikus. Let's go.
Carbon whispers flee, wind turbines hum, trees embrace, each earth breathes lighter now. There we go. I'll do that again. Carbon whispers flee, wind turbines hum, trees embrace, earth breathes lighter now.
Fantastic, Gareth. That's brilliant. I do have to say the second delivery was a significant improvement on the first.
Yes, well, exactly. I had a problem with keeping my teeth in their correct positions. So, look, all remains to say thank you so much, as ever, for the inimitable, incomparable, incandescent Vicky Poole of Tender Response. If you want to know anything about public sector tendering, she seems to be a mine of all information. If you want to learn more about carbon accounting, you should attend this event. Click on the QR code in the corner, and finally, just remember that she has a whole bunch of really useful information at her website at tenderresponse.co.uk/resources. Until next week, I wish you all wonderful business, hopefully just after hump day, calm and peaceful, but also great mental health. Thank you all. Bye-bye now.